Yo, yo, yo. It's your boy Moolah. This week at that Five Podcast. We back with another one, man. We got the Secret Invasions, man. Episode 4. Breakdown. Let's see what it is.
Sure if this means we should get divorced or we should renew our vows.
Hey, welcome back, Screen Crush. I'm Ryan Airy, and this is all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things you might have missed in Secret Invasion Episode 4, Beloved. This episode was the turning point for the series, where alliances are cemented into place, torn apart, and where they revealed once and for all that Rhodey is a Skrull.
Spoiler alert.
Dude, they revealed that in the last episode, over the phone.
St. James Church, 1 hour.
Which actually was kind of lame, but I'll get into that in a bit. I especially loved how this episode set up Captain America, Brave New World, and the rise of Harrison Ford's Thunderbolt Ross, but I'm going to talk about that a little later too. First, let's break this episode down. Now, we start off on Gaia's dead body. Well, last week I said she was dead.
I was wrong.
Yeah, well, Emilia Clarke is in like a lot of different shots in the trailers that we haven't seen yet in the show.
I know, but look, we're dealing with Skrulls. I thought all those shots from the trailer were going to be like another Skrull taking the form of Gaia. Instead, we see the flashbacks of her taking the memories of a scientist, logging into the program, and giving herself the powers of
What's up with this, man? So, like, what the hell? Is it a flashback? What's going on, y'all?
Extremis.
Wait, what's Extremis?
So, Extremis was from Iron Man 3. It was a program developed by AIM that basically used the healing power of plants to make people immortal and breathe fire.
Oh, yeah, just like plants.
Yeah, just like plants. But the problem is that Extremis is worse.
Listen, don't snack on the job.
Hey, boss. I mean, you know I stress eat. It's just one more bad habit that I have to break. Anyways, Extremis was unstable. It caused the subjects to explode. So Tony found a way to stabilize it, but then never used it to cure disease or anything like that. I guess because he's kind of a collector.
I need it. Buy it, store it.
So I'm glad it's back in the MCU. Basically, I think it was just too dangerous to be left out in the open. But the Skrulls recovered some DNA that had been altered with Extremis, so they were able to replicate the power. In fact, maybe they got this DNA from this cage fighter in Shang-Chi. Now, when Gaia is loading up Extremis, I appreciated this little meter on the side, like the old Marvel trading cards that use these meters to show how powerful a character was in a given category. So she gave herself the Extremis treatment. So, like a lot of you predicted, Gaia is now a Super Skrull. Now, I thought it was interesting that as soon as she wakes up, she reverts back to her human form immediately, almost subconsciously. Remember, Gravik Skrull agents are trained to always be in their human form. That way they don't accidentally revert back to their own skin in front of humans. So this is showing us just how well conditioned Gaia is.
Yeah, or like Emilia Clarke had in her contract to not wear Skrull makeup all the time.
Stop it, you.
Hey, what's that you have there? Don't vape on the job. You jerk.
Oh, dude, this is not a vape. This is actually just my method of kicking stress eating, which is my oral fixation habit. And it also gives my hands something to do when I'm feeling anxious, which is all the time. Or in a past video, where we explained that the AI animation was done over art made by humans, but to give it a weird alien look, and it succeeded. And you know, I just noticed today that on the chessboard, the king is revealed to have little Skrull ears, symbolizing how many world leaders are actually Skrulls. So this episode's flashback takes us to Paris in 2012, just after the Battle of New York and the Avengers. So like, this is Fury's greatest moment of triumph, when he is at the peak of his career. He started his rise to the top after the movie Captain Marvel when he wrote the Avengers Initiative. And now that dream has come to fruition, and he is also the director of the most powerful spy agency on Earth. So it's fitting that this is the moment when Fury lets his guard down, when he's vulnerable enough to let himself fall in love. He is, after all, in the most romantic city in the world.
Detroit?
Not Detroit, Paris.
Oh, I just thought Detroit looked romantic. I don't know.
Okay, so also in this scene, Fury's like the worst spy. He sticks out like a sore thumb. His trench coat, his eye patch, like if you saw him in the street, you'd be like, that guy looks really interesting, which is the last thing a spy ever wants you to think. He sits down with Priscilla, and just in case you're all confused by their last conversation in this episode, he does know that she is a Skrull. But we'll talk about the reveals of their murder session a little bit later. She's looking at a French headline about the Battle of New York, and we've seen similar headlines across the MCU, for instance in the show Daredevil. Priscilla says that she knew Fury was behind this new Avengers team because
home is worth fighting for.
Now, it's interesting that in this moment, she is not using these words to mock Fury like the Skrulls are doing in the present day. At this point, the Skrulls are still hopeful about finding a new world, and they believe that Nick will help them find it. Priscilla is
melt fat like butter with this new powerful military invention.
Him because he is searching for a home for them, and because he protects her weakened people. She's reading a book by the kick-ass poet Raymond Carver. And actually, the poem she reads, a late fragment, is inscribed on his tombstone. It's a conversation with the man who has recently entered the afterlife, who says,
"And what did you want?"
To call myself
Beloved.
To feel myself beloved.
This is a brilliant choice for this episode because it has many, many meanings. In the context of the the original poem, it's Carver saying that he wanted to feel loved while he was alive. But it has layered meanings in the context of this show. It's about the Skrulls, and Priscilla specifically wanting to feel like they have a home on Earth. And for Priscilla and Fury, it's about feeling loved while she is on the Earth. Beloved is the name of the episode, and that name also has many meanings. Beloved refers to the relationship between the Furies, but also how Talos feels about his daughter. And I also have to mention the 1987 Toni Morrison novel Beloved, which won the Pulitzer Prize. This novel is about former slaves being haunted by an evil spirit. So in the context of this episode, we have two black characters listening to an African spiritual, more on that in just a bit, and the Skrulls were actually liberated from Kree domination. But there's an ominous spirit following the Skrulls around, resentment at owing the humans favors, and the growing idea that they should revert to their warlike ways to claim this planet as their own. So then we go to present day when Rhodey Skrull is in a meeting with Priscilla in a church. And I just gotta say, the Rhodey Skrull reveal was kind of lame. We found out over the phone.
St. James Church, 1 hour.
I need to speak to Graphic.
Yeah, well, you're talking to me.
This is mind-blowing how much of a wasted opportunity this is. Rhodey has been in the MCU since the first MCU movie. So I think that this sloppy reveal means that Rhodey will not have been a Skrull for all these years. Because that would have been a massive reveal. He should have revealed this to a human in a big shocking moment. So in the comic book Secret Invasion, when a superhero turned out to be a Skrull, it was like a huge deal, a big surprise. And as we covered in a past video, Rhodey was the perfect candidate to be a Skrull for years. He is one of the few Avengers without powers. He would have infiltrated the Avengers and the government to gather intel. It would have been a gut punch to people who have loved the MCU since 2008. But you know what? I guess we get what we get. Like I mentioned earlier, the song being sung here is called Deep River. It's an African-American spiritual sung by slaves with truly heartbreaking lyrics. Like, Deep River, my home is over Jordan. Oh, don't you want to go to that gospel feast? That promised land where all is peace. I want to cross over into the campground. So in the original context, this is about slaves dreaming of freedom and salvation. The River Jordan is where Jesus was baptized. So saying your home is across that river is a way of saying that you obtain freedom through salvation, or salvation through freedom. In the context of the Skrulls, though, they are also looking for a home. They are also a people who are not free.
Wait, what do you mean they're not free? They're not slaves.
Well, no, but listen, we keep hearing the phrase,
Home in my own skin.
and this is key to understanding what the Skrulls want. They want to be free to look like themselves, to be like themselves. It's the same thing that African Americans have struggled with ever since they were enslaved. Anyways, back to the episode. When he talks about finding Fury, Skrull Rhodey says,
I DDT'd that dude from the top rope. Yeah, it was like Undertaker level.
and this is, of course, referencing the legendary Undertaker and one of his signature moves, the DDT. Now, this either means that this Skrull happens to be a huge wrestling fan, or that Rhodey was a huge wrestling fan and the Skrull is using some of Rhodey's memories. And actually, I think this is the first piece of personal information we have discovered about Rhodey.
Boom. You looking for this?
During this conversation, Priscilla tries to make Rhodey pity Fury.
Oh, the old Fury. The one with power, the one with ability. That Fury's gone.
All while Fury listens to their conversation. And it's kind of sad that Fury isn't angry about all this. He's hurt, maybe because he knows that Priscilla's right. And then we go to Gaia and Talos meeting on a bench that looks a lot like old Steve's bench from the end of Avengers Endgame. They're watching some migratory birds, could be ducks, could be geese, nobody really knows. And now this is appropriate though, because these migratory birds have no home and neither do the Skrulls. Gaia tells Talos that she has put her faith into him, but she just needs to hear his plan, how he can get them a home. And then, much like the Star Wars sequel trilogy, he reveals that he doesn't have a plan.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
His big idea is to beg the president for a place to stay. He even says that his plan is to meet with the president, which he kind of does at the end of the episode, just not in the way he planned. Now, frankly, I don't blame Gaia for walking away or for siding with Gravik to begin with. Her generation has been failed by their parents, and they want to take the reins themselves. And then we go to another sort of breakup as Priscilla arrives home to assassinate her husband. I love this framing of her beside these faces on the wall, as if we're not sure what face she's going to be wearing. Wife, spy, assassin, beloved. Now, Fury made her tea that's going to...
Oh, is it poison tea? Is it filled with chocolate?
I don't think so. They put their pistols on the table as Fury confronts her. Now, this conversation reminded me a lot of the climax of the movie Kill Bill Volume 2, where lethal assassins and former lovers have a tense standoff, all while calmly sitting down. This is a pretty great scene, filled with tension, as we're not sure how long Priscilla has been spying on Fury.
Would you tell me the story about how you chose her?
And as we've seen all through this series, Sam Jackson brings it.
Ignored every signal in my head, heart, and body that screamed, stop!
She tells him how she came to take over the life of this original woman named Priscilla.
Dr. Priscilla Davis had a congenital heart defect. She was keeping it a secret.
Again, she's framed with these faces on the wall behind her to symbolize her ever-changing identities. So she tells Fury about these 3 promises she made, and the third one goes back to that original moment when Fury let his guard down and fell in love.
To feel myself
Beloved on the earth. To feel myself beloved on the earth.
And then, oh geez, this is sweet, they both miss on purpose. In fact, Fury shoots one of the Skrulls in the eye, which would be his good eye, maybe to show that love is blind. But as Fury leaves, she asks him a question that I think has been nagging her for years.
Would you have loved me if I never changed?
She's asking him, could he have accepted her in her Skrull form? Could she have ever felt at home in her own skin? And he doesn't answer. And I think this is because the answer was no. He needed her to look like another woman that he could fall in love with. So no matter what, even though these two love each other, this is a tragic love story because they could never truly be together in their true forms.
Guess we'll never know.
And then we go to Rhodey, feeling at home in her own skin. Now, I thought we'd see this a bit more. Skrulls pretending to be different genders. And this seems very clever how when the mirror is covered in condensation, she is in her natural form. But as soon as that condensation's cleared, she becomes Rhodey, showing that in the light of day, she cannot ever be home in her own skin. In the credits, we learned that her Skrull name is Rava. And in the comics, Rava was a Skrull pirate who appeared in the Black Bolt comic series. Now, this may seem random, but there's like so many varied Marvel fans out there that you know there's like some hardcore Rava fans who cheered when they saw her name on screen. Also, the actress who plays her, Nisha Aaliyah, was one of Kingo's backup dancers.
Skrulls and Eternals confirmed.
Skrulls and Eternals confirmed. High five! Fury shows up here for another tense conversation where he basically tells Rhodey that he knows they're a Skrull, but they maybe don't pick up on that. He says there's a Skrull so close to the president.
As close as you and I are right now. Closer.
And then Rhodes blackmails Fury with the video of Gravik assassinating Maria Hill, who, by the way, Maria Hill, not really dead. That's my theory. They're going to do that fake assassination thing that Fury did in The Winter Soldier. Mark it down. My theory, that's what I said. Fury says,
you and I both know that's Gravik.
So actually, maybe this is Fury telling Rhodey that he knows he's a Skrull. And the response,
the alien defense. No, Your Honor, that's not me. That's a 6 foot tall, bald, black, one-eyed extraterrestrial.
The thing is, though, in the comic book She-Hulk, we do see this kind of case where people will claim that they're innocent in court because of shapeshifters or mind control. And the show She-Hulk had a similar plot line where a light elf became Megan Thee Stallion to con a guy out of money.
That's right. There's only one Megan Thee Stallion.
As they exit, they're forced to walk through a war protest.
What war?
Well, Doug, remember that the world is on the brink of a world war right now. Gravik is trying to start a war between the Russians and the Americans, hoping that the humans will use nuclear weapons to destroy themselves.
Wait, so how many elves on Earth that don't nobody know about? What the fuck?
Skrulls are immune to radioactivity, and Russia has the most abandoned nuclear plants on Earth.
Fury and Talos are able to easily tail Rhodey with
liquid location tracker.
Which, Fury actually warned the Skrull about.
Poison? No. What? Nano trackers.
Rhodey goes to meet with President Ritson and joins the motorcade, which is soon ambushed by Gravik's helicopters.
How in the world did Gravik get military helicopters?
Well, Doug, remember, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom is on the Skrull Council, and she is on Team Gravik. So, between her and the President of NATO, Gravik was able to get his hands on some Russian machinery.
Hey, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Couldn't Skrull Rhodey just impersonate the president and then order a nuclear strike on Russia?
That's a great question, and the answer is no, because Skrull Rhodey would have had to have kidnapped President Ritson, put him inside the memory machine, and then use the memory machine to pull out all the nuclear codes.
Oh yeah, okay, I understand that. Good. Yes.
Now, this whole ambush sequence might remind a lot of you of the very first sequence in the MCU, the military convoy ambush in Iron Man. And the show's creators included a really neat nod to that. Remember the soldier who asked Tony this?
Is it true you went 12 for 12 with last year's Maximum cover model?
Well, when you go back and rewatch this scene, look closely and you'll see that this soldier is your mom.
What's the #1 secret to making a hit song? Most producers think it's fancy studio equipment, special.
During the battle, we see that the presidential motorcade has surface-to-air missiles, which, holy shit, is that a real thing?
You know, they'll never let us know, but I bet half the cars in the motorcade are secretly Transformers.
Who's they?
You know, them, they.
Right, them. So, to frame the Russians, Gravik and the others are speaking in Russian. Fury and Talos infiltrate the chaos as he uses a noisy cricket gun to shoot down a helicopter. This is very similar to when he shot down a jet in the Avengers.
Hey, did you know that helicopter comes from the Greek word helios, which means spiral, and pater, which means flight, like in pterodactyl?
And how long have you been waiting to casually drop that into a conversation?
Man, I thought that flowed real organically.
It did. High five. Now, this is one of those moments where I think there should really be superheroes in this show. But putting that aside, it's an awesome big budget sequence where we get to see Gravik use Groot's powers right here. Remember, Groot was one of the DNA strands that his people collected, like we saw a couple episodes ago. And they probably acquired Groot's DNA from Wakanda. Right here you can see Thanos breaking away his branches and leaving them behind. And then we get the final stand of Talos. It's heartbreaking how, when he's wounded, he starts to involuntarily shift back to his natural form. It's like as Skrulls die, they can finally be at home in their own skin. Salvation across the River Jordan. Talos uses his last moments to desperately try to free the president. Remember, he thinks that impressing the president is the only way forward for the salvation of his people.
We go to the president, and I believe that I can secure an amnesty for the 1 million of us to remain.
There's also this important moment where a soldier initially distrusts Talos.
He's a bloody alien! He's trying to get to Richard! No!
But after Fury vouches for him, Talos finds acceptance. And you know, guys, it's the MCU, so that's why this soldier is not immediately like, holy shit, aliens are real! Because aliens have been around for years.
What's the matter with you kids? You never seen a spaceship before?
Fury takes the president to his car, which, as we saw in The Winter Soldier, a Fury car is the safest possible place to survive an assassination attempt. Gravik holds Talos and Fury screams,
I said, put him down!
Which Gravik does, just not in the way he was hoping.
What you say?
So this episode realigned the entire series. Guy and Priscilla have become firm Team Fury. Talos is gone, and Gravik will likely not get another chance to assassinate the president. Now, I'm not sure how this series is going to end, but we can definitely see a roadmap for what's going to happen next year. Earlier, Rhodey pointed out how inept Ritson was.
President Ritson doesn't find out that the sun's come up unless I brief him. I fired Fury.
And I fully expected Ritson to die in this episode because we know that Captain America Brave New World is coming. Harrison Ford is going to be President Thunderbolt Ross. Showing us that Ritson is a pretty weak president sets up the rise of Ross. Ritson let Skrulls infiltrate the country. Ritson needed an alien's help to survive an assassination attempt. So after this, Americans will want a new, stronger leader. Somebody who's really tough on the weirdos with powers.
Okay.
President like this.
Get off my plane.
Well, guys, what did you think of this episode of Secret Invasion? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts.
Well, there y'all have it. It's going to be real. Can't wait for episode 5 to drop. You know what I'm talking about? It's going down. Nick Fury got to kick some ass. And they finna snitch. They got to tell on everybody. We'll be back. We'll be back with another one. It's your boy Moonlight. We got that 5. I'm out. Wow.